Labour are in meltdown over the Green Party, rightly so, and Nigel Farage's party could finally face their reckoning. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this upcoming by-election is one of the most important in British history for a very, very long time. It could help determine whether the politics of fear, of hatred, of despair triumph in this country, or if the politics of hope can win instead. Hope. Do you remember that? I'm talking, of course, about the Gorton and Denton by-election in Greater Manchester. Even though I've betrayed my roots, become a bit of a southern softie, is that a bit of Manc pride I feel rising within me. Now, it is true that the Greens are the bookies' favourite to win the seat. Not in the bag, though, for the Greens by any stretch. Whether they win depends on whether they can recruit basically a massive army of people like yourselves, to get up there and knock on doors, because Labour and Reform are going to throw everything and anything at this seat, like their lives depend on it. And the Greens should brace themselves, I would say, for the mother of all smear campaigns. Now, I've got a treat for you. We're going to talk about the Reform UK candidate, Matthew Goodwin. He's an extraordinary character, former Liberal academic from Hertfordshire, GB News presenter, fully signed up member of, I guess, the London media circus. He transformed at some point into a raging right-wing headbanger. First off, the Greens, who have the Labour Party bricking themselves, resorting to dirty tricks and smears. I'll come on to that. They've selected their candidate, Hannah Spencer. She's a Manc plumber, currently also training to be a plasterer and a Green Party councillor. She's got 78% of the vote from, alas, not yet, the electorate, 78%. I mean, that's probably pushing you guys, calm down. 78% of vote from local activists. So it's fair to say that they're a big fan. She's got Mancunian warmth and charisma, which I'm a big fan of, and obviously very well regarded by our party. But honestly, what a masterstroke. Labour stitched this up. So the Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, who would have undoubtedly walked it, let's be honest, he couldn't stand. They stopped him from doing so. Reform have selected a Southern ex-academic and London television presenter, while the Greens, often caricatured as sandal-wearing, Newsly scoffing middle-class do-gooders, have selected a working-class Manc woman. I'll be interviewing her later, very excited. Now, one Labour MP is quoted as saying, "They want us to go and knock doors, but we all know it's between the Greens and Reform. It's Caerphilly all over again. The Greens winning is actually the worst case scenario because it confirms our voters going to them." Now, Caerphilly is the Welsh by-election that took place last October. It's a Welsh constituency that Labour's only ever won in, literally since the dawn of democracy. Not an exaggeration. But in the end, the left-wing Welsh nationalist Plaid Cymru smashed Reform, winning more than 47% compared to just 36% for Farage's crew. Labour got 11% of the vote. Imagine that. It's just, you know, people's mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers. They all come out and put their vote in for Labour at the polling station. Just like that, gone. Now, the Greens have got to position themselves in the constituency as the only real alternative to Reform, which has just been fueled by Labour taking up their rhetoric, their policies, their agenda. I mean, what the Greens are offering people locally is a must-have 2-for-1 offer: see off Nigel Farage and slap the government in the face at the same time. Crucially, what they need to be saying is, we've got to tax the rich to invest in public services, communities, and living standards. They've got to remind people that only they opposed arming Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. All the other parties are lapdogs of Donald Trump. Let's hear this, I wouldn't say pithy summary from the Green Party leader, Zach Polanski.
This is it. This is the moment. In the last few months, the Green Party have tripled our membership. We've really gone up in the polls. But actually, the thing that matters is winning an election. And Gorton and Denton is a battle for the soul of our nation. It's the Reform Party versus the Green Party. They're funded by multimillionaires and billionaires. We're powered by the community. They want to lick the boots of Donald Trump. We want to stand up for this country and with our European neighbours. And they have the politics of hate, and we have the politics of hope.
Now, there's loads of evidence for Labour being right to panic about the Greens. Headlines we love to see in the Times newspaper: Greens eye up Manchester by-election as Labour support unravels. Woof. Green Party posters, they report, start to crop up in shop windows. They quote former Labour voters defecting to the Greens, like 30-year-old Ty Jaffa, who says, "I don't believe the Labour Party can in any way be described as progressive. This moment is existential for the Labour Party, because actually what it demonstrates is that if you want to stop Nigel Farage and the Reform Party, then that's by voting for the Green Party." Very on message. Love that. Let's listen to some more sage advice on BBC Question Time.
I think a lot of the Tories who defected to the Reform Party were always perhaps racist and wanted to push an agenda that was disgusting, frankly, but they've just found a party that they could do it with. I honestly think general consensus, particularly amongst young people, is that we've lost our humanitarianism, and the only party that is showing any semblance of that is Green at the minute, frankly. And we're so fixated on the economy, on wealth, on so many other things, but we're just neglecting the fact that we are all humans and that we are not looking after one another. And none of Labour, Tories, Reform, none of you offer that security, particularly to young people who are so exasperated with just generally the state of the world and how we are treating each other.
I mean, the truth is, Labour, Reform and the Tories are all united over our nation's wealth being sucked into the bank accounts of a tiny few and then using the politics of fear to distract from that. That's their strategy. She made a really good point. Tory MPs and Tory cabinet ministers have flooded into Reform, like Sorella Braverman, Nadine Dorries, Nadine Zari, Robert Jenrick. Those Tories trashed this country. I mean, they devastated the country. And then they were kicked out by this country. And now these totally catastrophic Tory failures and rejects are trying to sneak back into power using Nigel Farage as their life raft. Labour are also getting desperate, by the way. They've been sharing this poll, which claims Reform on 36% of the constituency, Labour on 33%, the Greens on 21%. Oh my word, honestly, wait for this. To say this poll is less than useless is an understatement. As Patrick English, one of YouGov's most senior pollsters, puts it, the sample size was 51 people for that. It's just so ridiculous. Wild, insane media organisations have been spreading it, helping Labour at the expense of the Greens. You might as well just make up some random numbers. Labour are also trying to hit the Greens over their policy of ending the failed war on drugs. That war on drugs has given organised crime their main source of income, led to far more people taking drugs than when the war on drugs began, meant drugs are mixed with all sorts of dangerous substances because there's no regulation. It stopped people who have problematic relationships with drugs, drug addictions from getting help that they need. In Portugal, where I've examined their system, where drugs were decriminalised over 2 decades ago. Instead of treating people with addictions as criminals, they instead get health support so they can get better. Now, here's what's going on. Our politicians, loads of our politicians, have taken drugs. Smoked weed, snorted coke, God knows what else. Either in the past, or frankly, I can tell you as a fact, some are still doing drugs right now. I don't know if right this second, but you know what I mean. And then they lock up disproportionately young black men for doing the same thing as them. In 2021, Keir Starmer, unfortunately our Prime Minister, refused 14 times to answer Piers Morgan when asked if he'd taken drugs. Then he was asked about this again by some school students. Listen to this.
Hello, I'm Leke. In an interview with Piers Morgan, you refused 14 times to answer if you took drugs. Could you clarify this?
Are you trying the 15th time? I had a good time when I was younger.
Well, it's number
Thank
16.
you, Piers. You know what, that interview with Piers, I mean, the final version was an hour-long package, I think. But the interview was 3 hours. We just sat with the cameras rolling without a break. It was very, very intense. Was it 14 times, he asked me?
Yeah.
So it's not a yes or a no, number 16, no?
That's 16. You see, you got Chris going now.
I'm just going to put it out there. Keir Starmer's obviously taking drugs. If he hadn't have taken drugs, he'd have just said that he hadn't have taken drugs. There would be no reason not to answer that question directly. But it gets worse. He jokes about having taken drugs in front of school kids, trying to make himself sound cool to children by saying, in response to being asked about taking drugs, that he had a good time when he was younger. That hypocrisy is nauseating. Politicians who've taken drugs, you think it's funny they've taken drugs, then lock up other people's kids for the same thing. And then they try and demonise the Green Party, who've courageously accepted the current system doesn't work, the current system where even our own rulers have taken or take drugs, and they propose looking for an alternative to this ludicrous, hypocritical, failed system. Vile. Now, the Reform Party, should talk about them. They selected Matthew Goodwin, though he likes to call himself Matt Goodwin now, just to sound a little bit more relatable. To say Matthew Goodwin's political trajectory has been wild as saying something. I mean, first off, before we go on to that, Nigel Farage announced Goodwin was the candidate, saying Matt is coming home to Manchester, which is funny because Matthew Goodwin is from Hertfordshire. Although I'm also confused because he also treated he spent much of his childhood in Birmingham. I mean, he says the area of Birmingham he spent much of his childhood in has since turned into a shithole where many people do not speak English and live on the welfare state. Lovely guy. Now, he came back at me on this and said his parents divorced when he was younger, but his dad moved to Manchester when he was 12 and led the local NHS. So he spent weekends and holidays there and then went to Salford University. I don't really care about this, by the way. I mean, if Goodwin, who lives in London, wants to call Manchester his real home, he can go wild. Fill your boots. But this is the guy, when discussing Brits from Black, Asian, or other migrant backgrounds, said, it takes more than a piece of paper to make someone British. He also said he was the first person in his family to go to university, which is a bit strange because, according to the LinkedIn of his father, his dad went to university when Goodwin was 3 years old, and his father became the CEO of Greater Manchester Strategic Health Authority, not exactly screaming salt of the earth working class, as Goodwin basically implies about his background that he talks about. Now, Goodwin also tweeted he found it difficult to believe that Manchester finished above Rome, Madrid, and London in the most livable cities list. But his trajectory, which is disturbing. He used to share my work challenging anti-Muslim prejudice. I used to speak to Matt Goodwin when I was doing columns taking on the hard right and Islamophobia. Him and his co-author even got me to endorse a book they wrote on the rise of the hard right. I am not joking. He wrote pieces for the likes of the New Statesman denouncing inflammatory anti-migrant rhetoric and, specifically, lies about migrants and immigration. Now he's got the far-right, repeatedly convicted criminal Tommy Robinson calling for his supporters to vote for him. Matt Goodwin keeps denouncing the Greens for talking about Israel's genocide in Gaza. Take a listen to this.
I want a national unifying politics which puts Britain first, not Pakistan, not Gaza, not any other foreign policy thing, Britain first.
Not Israel?
Well,
not Israel. The media's just been talking about Israel and the IDF for the last 4 or 5 days. That's what they talk about. You wouldn't think that high streets in this country are on the, are on the way down, or public services aren't doing well, or people are struggling with their bills. I hear so much about Israel.
Is that a fair point?
well, my personal view is Israel is a very close ally. Well, until recently, it was a very close ally of the United Kingdom. We should look after our allies. Unfortunately,
no, we shouldn't.
Unfortunately,
we should look after Britain.
Unfortunately, Israel no longer feels that we are a reliable ally, thanks to the Labour government. I care. And
Why?
Lots of British Jews, a lot of British Jews in the country care about that.
The point of politicians in the UK should be to look out for the UK. That's it. That's something, by the way, that the right always used to say. And I used to look at them as somebody on the left going, you know what, I think they've got a point. And large parts of the right, Matthew, have just gone away from that because they just keep on talking about Israel and Tel Aviv and the IDF. They're making the IDF a protected characteristic. Need to go to the human rights, watchdog and maybe protect for, IDF Lance Corporals because they're being discriminated against by the UK, media. It's silly. You had it right 5-10 years ago. Look after this country.
It's not silly to say Israel has a right to self-determination and to protect its own people.
Every country does.
That Britons, particularly British Jews, also feel profoundly unsafe about the direction of travel in this country.
So hold on. You started this by saying British politicians shouldn't be talking about other countries. I say ignore Israel. And then you say, no, actually, no, they should be talking about Israel. You need to make your mind up.
I'm not saying they should be talking about Israel. I'm saying I have less of an issue with them talking about countries that are our allies than people who are actively trying to organise politics along sectarian lines, which is what this independent group is going to do. Let's be frank, it's going to be pro-Gaza, anti-Israel, anti-British state, anti-military, pro-Palestine action. It's going to be all the things that this country should not really have.
Do you know, in the last Parliament, do you know what percentage of Tory MPs were members of Conservative Friends of Israel?
How many?
70%. Be friends of your own constituencies.
You can't make this shit up. Says we shouldn't put foreign policy issues like Gaza first. Israel comes up. Whew, different story, isn't it? Gorton and Denton has a Green Party candidate, local plumber, Hannah Spencer, who wants to take on the cost of living crisis by taxing the rich, wants to defeat the politics of fear and hatred represented by reform, and wants to teach the government a lesson, wants to stand up for the country rather than being the lapdog of Donald Trump, and yes, opposes Israel's genocide. Over to you, Gorton and Denton. Choose wisely. Now, I've got an interview with Hannah coming up. She's busy, so I'm very delighted that she's got time to have a little chat, which will go up soon. So stay tuned. Press like and subscribe. Do share the video, get the message out, because pretty much the rest of the media is just going to pile on these people, the Greens. So it's good to just offer a little bit of a counterweight to that. But as I've said, it does depend on them mobilising a massive army to knock on doors. It's going to be the big political battle of our time. Fingers crossed. Please like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in your comments. Help us take on the dire media landscape, which is obviously rigged in favour of fear, hatred, and all the rest. Yeah, leave your comments, press like, subscribe, and patreon.com/7Jones84. That's how you allow us to take on the media, and everything we do is down to you. And I keep saying I'm finishing my book for the rest, which will be all done and dusted in a month, and then we'll focus far more on this. We're going up to Gorton and Denton to speak to people there, to speak to the different parties. I'm going to try and speak to the different political parties, see if they will speak to me. But yes, I will speak to you in a bit.